Good evening. He's the most senior member of the Anglican Church to be convicted of sexual abuse. Today, a former Bishop of Lewes pleaded guilty to a string of offences against 18 teenagers and young men.
Peter Ball, who's now 83, admitted indecent assault and misconduct in public office after failing in an earlier attempt to get the case thrown out. Our news correspondent Colin Campbell has the details.
Police say Bishop Peter Ball used religion as a cover to groom and sexually abuse young men and teenage boys.
The highly manipulative and grooming individual has basically got young men to come to his address in the guise of Christianity, and in that cloak has then picked on the most vulnerable and used them for his own sexual purposes.
This is where he carried out much of the abuse in the 70s and 80s, the rectory in Littlington, East Sussex.
I get up at just after 4 every morning and then have an hour and a half of personal prayer.
Living amongst young men, Ball allowed a film crew to document the religious scheme.
When it came to the abuse was both sexual, mental, physical.
Neil Todd was one of the many who attended. He complained to police in 1993, but Ball avoided prison, accepting a police caution, despite other complainants bravely coming forward.
I basically believe he did actually get away very lightly with the crime that he committed. And I do believe that there were other young people out there maybe experienced a similar scenario as myself.
Haunted by the abuse, Neil tragically took his own life in 2012. He was, of course, correct. Peter Ball did abuse many others. It was, though, the assistance the disgraced bishop received after resigning in 1993 that compounded Neil's agony.
The church should be asking serious questions now at this point, how such a senior figure in the life of the church was able for over 20 years to avoid justice.
It is no secret that Bishop Peter Ball had friends in high places. Seen here greeting Prince Charles, Ball described the prince as a loyal friend. Prince Charles provided the bishop with accommodation after Ball was cautioned for sexually abusing Neil Todd. Phil Johnson says Ball abused him when he was 13 in front of paedophile vicar Roy Cotton. Ball today denied that charge, but it will remain on his file.
Peter Ball associated with a lot of other abusers, and his connections to those abusers and any collusion or conspiracy that existed between them has never really been explored. You know, this is a case where yet again there has been a plea bargain, so the evidence has not been fully examined in court.
What is for certain is Bishop Peter Ball's victims have had a very long and frustrating wait for justice.
Well, Colin Campbell is here in the studio now. Colin, you've been investigating sexual offences in the Church of England for several years now. How significant do you think today's guilty plea is?
Peter Ball is the highest ranking member of the Church of England to admit to sexual offences of this kind. It's also significant, though, because he is the first member of the Church of England to plead guilty to this very serious charge of misconduct in a public office. Now, it is a charge which carries a maximum of a life sentence, and it does appear that it sets a legal precedent and could in the future have serious implications for the Church of England. What we can report, though, for the very first time is that in 1993, staff for the acting Archbishop of Canterbury, George Carey, contacted the Crown Prosecution Service in the hope of trying to prevent Peter Ball's case going to trial, which is highly irregular. But there appear to be many unanswered questions in this case, victims and others suspecting that there was a cover-up, but Peter Ball will be sentenced on the 7th of October.
Thanks, Colin.